Well, hello everybody. Hello and welcome. Welcome to my craft room on a rather wild Friday weather-wise. Goodness me. So I expect you've all had rain recently. You've probably all had gales. We certainly have here. I'm only a little way from the coast and it's been very wild. And we've got a severe weather warning for tomorrow from sort of lunchtime onwards for severe gales and torrential rain. So September wasn't too bad. There was quite a lot of dull weather, but also lots of sunshine and pretty much no rain at all. And it looks like we're making up for it. The end of the month was wet and wild, and the beginning of the next one is the same. So say hello if you're here. I will stop talking about the weather, and I will have a quick look at my iPad and see if I can see what you can see. So here we go. Facebook. There we go. Turn down the volume and it looks like I'm there and it looks like I'm live. Oh, and Belinda's there. Hi Belinda, lovely to have you joining us. We've missed you. Belinda's saying hello to everybody as well. So it's really nice to have you, Belinda. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. I hope you are cosily inside with your little tansy all snuggled up. She's probably got a blanket round her if she's got any sense. Okay, so I will ask you if you've done anything exciting at all in the last week, but you probably haven't. What have I done? Let me think. Not a lot, I think is the answer. I've been hunkered down at home here, beetling away. I've cut a lot of cards this week. I've got an event tomorrow with some of my team, which I'm very much looking forward to. And I had the project, so I knew what I was doing, and I started to cut the card, and I had not realised how much card there was to cut. Yeah, I've been cutting card for about 2 days, so I hope I haven't made any mistakes. We'll find out tomorrow morning. I've also done some baking for classes coming up. All my classes get homemade cake. So it's been nice to get back to baking again. I don't do a lot of baking if I'm not running classes face to face, because otherwise I eat the baking and that really isn't good for me. So Kay is here. Hello Kay, welcome. I'd love to know what you're doing at the weekend. I am going to see the new James Bond film at the weekend, which I'm very excited about. A little bit of Daniel will make me feel a whole lot better. Going with my daughter and her partner as well, so that will be really nice. It's always a treat to see her. Kay saying good afternoon to everyone. Yeah, Belinda's saying yes, they're safely inside. She's doing well. I'm very pleased with her sight. A poor little Tansy isn't very well right now. Oh, Belinda, I'm so sad to hear that. What's the matter? Is it something that they can fix, or is it just her age beginning to catch up with her? I'm very sad to hear that. So I think Maureen is here. Hello Maureen, lovely to have you. And Pam is here. She also says hello. Okay, so what do I need to tell you about the world of Stampin' Up? I think it's a little bit the calm before the storm at the moment, actually. Celebration has finished. It's been a bit of a manic couple of months with the new catalogue and Celebration and everything else. But the Celebration promotion has finished. The catalogue is, of course, carrying on. The July to December or autumn-winter catalogue, as we always used to call it, that's carrying on until the end of the year. Hello, Maureen. Maureen says hello to everybody. Thank you for joining us. So in other news, there are a couple of new kits, which I have been mentioning about, but they're still pretty new. The Christmas Whimsy Kit, that's an all-inclusive kit with absolutely everything in it except a pair of scissors. I'm not even sure if you need scissors for that one, but that's all in there, and that makes whimsical little Christmas cards. And there is another one called, and I wrote it down, but I've left a piece of paper the other side of the room. It won't surprise you to hear. It's not called, I don't think, Expressions in Ink. Somebody watching may know, but it's from that. It's similar designs to that suite in the annual catalogue. I ordered mine about 10 days ago, and it's sitting in Stamford Le Hope at the UPS depot, where it's been for about a week now, so I don't know when I'm going to get it, and I will show you when it arrives. But that one is really beautiful, so I encourage you to go and have a look at the website, where you'll be able to see a bit more about that. You can go to my website at sallybowman.stampinup.net. Belinda saying, oh dear, tummy problems, probably her age beginning to take its toll. This is Tansy, Belinda's little dog. She's being well cared for by her wonderful vet at Seadown, and she's quite settled in herself. Well, I'm really sorry. I hope you can get to the bottom of, you know, of something that will help resolve it anyway. And it's horrible when your dog is ill. Never good. So lots of love to Tansy. Classes at the moment, I'm booking for my Christmas extravaganza. You can book for that class until a week today. I think that's right, October the 8th, yes. So next Friday. So that is an all-day class running on Saturday, November the 20th, near to me, near to Lymington. It's an in-person class this year. Fingers crossed we won't have to turn it online as I've had to in the past, but hopefully it will be an all-day class that's face-to-face. 6 different projects. You will get the Happy Holidays stamp set, which is the one with the robin on it, as part of the class. If you would like the coordinating holly border punch, which is in the catalogue as a bundle with the stamps, then you can do that and you'll get the bundle price on the punch, but you don't have to pay for the stamp separately. I've given you the date, haven't I? 20th of November. Bookings close a week today. The cost of the day is £50. That includes your stamp set, includes everything else for the project. You just need to bring your own scissors, bone folder, glues, and your lunch and your hot and cold drinks. I'll be making, before the class, I'll be making mince pies as well. So there will be homemade mince pies and plenty of biscuits too. So let me know if you're interested in that. I've got a whole information sheet on it because it's an all-day class. There's quite a lot of information that I can give you. So if you would like that, let me know. Let me have a look. Belinda says, she's got both the kits, the Christmas one and the Expressions one. They're 2 of the best kits she's seen. She's made up the Christmas Whimsy one already, and she'll put it into my paper crafting group later. That would be fabulous, Belinda. Thank you very much. People will enjoy seeing those. And it's always good to get feedback on things like that. I don't know why my comments keep disappearing from my iPad. Probably Facebook has done an update. I seem to be doing multiple updates every week at the moment, and it's driving everybody I know insane, because if you're actually trying to use Facebook to work with, they keep changing everything and you just about think you've got something working, and then they change it. Never mind. So Christmas extravaganza. It's also the last day next Friday to book for my November card class and for my November card class in the post. So there's a face-to-face version and there's the by post version. Mary's saying hello to everyone. Hi Mary, nice to have you. So if you'd like more information on that, again, just let me know and I can send that out to you. I know it seems really early. The class is at the beginning of November, but I need a month to place the orders, get the stuff, and then cut everything up ready for the class. And at the moment the shipping is not always, actually some parcels are getting through incredibly fast, but you can't guarantee it, and sometimes the shipping is taking, you know, a long time to get here. So I have to make sure that the closing date for the class is early enough for me to get ready for the class effectively. So the all-day Christmas extravaganza, the November card class, the November card class by post. Those are all the last date to book next Friday, a week today. And November's Fancy Folds class, you've got an extra week to book on that. You don't need to book that until the 15th of October. So Belinda is saying, oops, I just saw something come up. Where my comments are, there they are. Could I send you the information about extravaganza? Yes, I could, Belinda. I'm sorry if you didn't receive it. I sent it out at the beginning of the week, but I will send it to you again. Just making a note of that. So I'm sorry it didn't arrive in your inbox. It should have done, but I'll happily send it to you again. Okay, so I'll be sending out the Blackberry Beauty Sweet Sampler in a few weeks' time, but there will be a new sweet sampler which I will show you probably next week, and that's going to be based around the Painted Christmas Sweet, which is a really traditional set of Christmas crafting goodies, reds and greens. Gold looks beautiful with it. and I just think that it's very, very easy to use. So I will have that to show you next time. I've picked a Christmas one because by the time you get it, I'm sure most of you will be heavily into doing your Christmas crafting, so it seemed a good time to do a Christmas suite. And when I show you that next week, I actually won't be here doing it live. I can't do a live next Friday afternoon. However, I'm going to pre-record a video, pretty much the same format, except I'll probably be chatting to you less on it, which may be a good thing. So there will be something for you to watch. My plan is to upload it to Facebook and schedule it to be available from 2 o'clock on Friday next week. So your routine is the same as always. Tune in at 2 o'clock and I will be doing some crafting for you. So I'm sorry I can't do it live next week, but hopefully you won't feel like you've missed out too much. It's going to be using the baby wipe technique. So lots of you will probably know that, but it's an oldie and a goodie. And I think sometimes I'm guilty of always going for the new things, the new ways of doing things, and not revisiting old favourites. So I thought that I would do baby wipe technique next week. If you don't know about it, then you're in for a treat. I will post a Facebook event as usual, so you can see what I'll be doing, any supplies that I suggest you gather together, and so on. So that is next week. So I think that's everything I needed to tell you. Let me just check. Yeah, I have no idea. My comments are there on my iPad, but they just keep disappearing, so I have to keep telling it I want them back. Right, let me find my little post-it note to cover you up. I am trying a slightly different setup with my new camera stand today. I did a couple of test videos earlier because the last couple of weeks have not been very satisfactory, so I'm hoping that this is going to work better. We won't know until we get to the end and we see, will we? But fingers crossed. All right, so I'm going to cover you over, move the camera down so that you can see what's on my desk, and we'll get going with a bit of crafting. Okay, so that should have covered you over, hopefully. Let me just set some of the settings differently. Hopefully I've got this one the right one. I think I have. Okay, moving everything down. All right, requires a little more manipulation. There we go. So I might be there. Let's reveal, and then I may have to tweak things a little bit, but hopefully it won't be too bad. There's a long lag on my iPad, so I can't see what you can see yet. Okay, still nothing there. Everything's gone very black. That's not good, is it? So I'm not sure what's going on there. Let me just tweak a couple of things and see. According to this, I've still got internet. Let's have a look. So everything's black, isn't it? That's really weird. Okay, I'm just going to fiddle. So look away and I'll see what I can do. I have no idea what has happened there. Oh, hang on. There we go. I think I hit a setting when I took the post-it off. That should be better. Right. That's better. Thank heavens for that. Right, I just need to tweak a little bit now. I'm not going to cover it over, so just look away and I'll tell you when I'm back. Because if I cover it over, I might hit that setting. I was worried I'd done something dreadful there, but I don't think I have. Oh gosh, I love technology. Honestly, it took me so long to learn my previous setup and work out how to get the best out of it. And then when the stand broke, and I've got something completely different, and you can actually see the feet here a little bit, but we won't worry about that, will we? It's taking me forever to get it right. Yes, Belinda's saying yes, it's better. It's much better, Belinda, isn't it? I like the colours better than the black. Right, I'm just going to try and hold some of these leads out of the way a little bit if I can. I'll try not to drag them across what I'm doing. Again, that's something else that doesn't work in the same way as it did before, but hopefully that'll be better. Right, now I just need to tweak this, and I think it has to go the opposite way to the way I want to do it. So let's try that. I'm just trying to get things straight for you. Yes, that's starting to look better, isn't it? Okay. Right, let's do some crafting. So this is my first card. I'm going to follow Belinda's tips and bring it up slowly towards the camera, hoping you can see it. I feel a bit like I'm working in slow motion here. Is that the right way? No, it's not the right way. Let's bring it this way. Okay. No, that's worse. I will get used to this, I promise. You're all very patient with me. Okay, that's better. That's what I wanted to show you. So we've got some die cut watercolour effect leaves here on a background with lots of spatters, and then I've got some die cut texture at the bottom and some linen thread and some of those lovely matte metallic dots. So I'm going to make a version of that, but first of all I'm going to show you how I did the leaves. So I have some watercolour paper here. Actually, I'm just using little scrappy bits. These are offcuts. You can see where I've been die cutting out of them. Watercolour paper is really what you want for this. It will work with shimmery white, but you won't get nearly such a good effect because you're going to be using quite a lot of water. So watercolour paper is what you want. This is what's in the catalogue. It's absolutely lovely quality watercolour paper. I highly recommend it. So I've got a scrap here, and let's bring in a leaf. Which one should we do? Will this fit on there? I like this shape. Yeah, that one will fit on there. So the stamps I'm using are Love of Leaves, this set. And there are 5 different leaves on there, and then there's a whole series of words as well, including thank you and I thought of you today, which I think are particularly useful. So the first thing to do then is to take one of those stamps and pick an ink pad. This is Pumpkin Pie, and I'm going to ink up my stamp exactly as I would normally. And then I'm going to put down a bit of kitchen paper just to help keep water off my grid paper, because I'm going to do more crafting after this. And then I have a stamping spritzer here with some water in it. These are fantastic. They're ever so cheap. I think they're under £3 for 2 of them in the catalogue. You can use them for all kinds of effects. You can put tap water in them, which is what I've done, or you can use them with rubbing alcohol for other effects. Fantastic. So I'm just going to squirt my inked stamp with 2 or 3 sprays of water. Probably is not going to show up, and that's actually, I'm going to give it just a little bit more. So what was that? That was probably 6, and my aim was not very good. I'm wearing most of it. So the ink has started to bead up on the surface of the stamp, but it's not rolling off the stamp. It's very, very hard to show you. I'm hoping that you can see that a little bit. Then I'm just going to stamp as normal. So I'm going to push down, but I am going to leave it on the paper longer than I would normally, just to give that ink a chance to transfer. And then I'll hold my paper because the stamp was so wet it's going to pull the paper up. There we go. And there is my watercolour effect flower. Now it's not perfect because, let me get something to point with. Here I obviously didn't get enough water there, but I can fix that. So if I bring in my water painter, so this is a brush with a reservoir that you can fill with tap water, and I'll try and do this close so you can see. I'm just going to put a little drop of water on there and then just spread it around a bit, and it will start to react with the ink on there. And so any little bits that I think I didn't watercolour terribly well, I can wet that way, and all of a sudden my leaf is pretty much perfect. So I'll set that aside to dry. I'm not going to use it on this card. I've got some that I did earlier because they do take half an hour or more to dry depending on how warm it is. If you end up with big puddles on here, then do just gently and quickly dab them with a bit of paper, because you can find that although the watery effect and the irregularity is what we're looking for, if you have a really big puddle, when it dries it pushes the ink to the edges, and then you get this big kind of circular blobby effect in the middle, and it just doesn't look very nice. But that one looks pretty good to me. If I was going back to stamp with this stamp, I would then dab it with some paper before I put it in my ink pad, because it's quite wet, and if I'm not careful, all I'll do is dilute the ink in my ink pad. So that's a bit of a tip there for you. All right, so that's how to do the leaves. If you don't know about the water painters, once you've finished using them, if you just squeeze the barrel, clear water will just flood through the bristles, and I just dab it until I can see there's no more orange coming out, and now that's ready to use on any other colour that I fancy. Alright, so here are my leaves that I made earlier in true Blue Peter style. So I've just done one of each of the leaves in the stamp set. My ink colours are soft suede, Cajun craze, crushed curry, crumb cake and pumpkin pie. They're all stamped on watercolour paper using the technique I just showed you, and then I have cut them out. Now you can cut them out by hand, these aren't too bad to cut out by hand, but I actually used the Stitched Leaves dies. So there's quite a lot of dies in this set. There's an outline die for each of the leaf shapes, and in fact there are two for this this particular leaf. So if you're just die cutting, you can have one that curves towards the left and one that curves towards the right, but there's only one stamp, so the stamped one curves towards the left. So there are outline dies for them, and they will cut out the outline, which is what I've used. They leave behind on what you might consider to be your waist a stitched edge. Again, I don't know if that will show or not, but the dies all have a stitched edge. So you can cut this out to make a leaf-shaped aperture, and the aperture will be edged with stitching, which is beautiful. And then behind it you can put all kinds of things. You can put some inky techniques on paper, you can put some designer series paper, all kinds of things, or you could even inset a leaf that you've done in a different colour. You could raise up that aperture layer over the top to give yourself some kind of perspective. There's lots and lots you can do with them. Then there is also for each leaf shape another die, which I haven't used this time, but this imprints the veins like that. So if I had used that, I would have these stitched veins in my leaf, and they are really attractive. And if you want a cutout leaf with the veins on it, you can use both the dies together, so that's just one pass through your machine. So that's all the leaf dies. And then there is also this one here, which always reminds me of a New York skyline, not that I've ever been to New York. And this gives you a perforated effect, and it's what I used for the background layer on my card. So you just lay it on, run it through your machine, and it does almost like lines of stitching, so it gives you lovely texture without actually cutting anything out. So these dies are fabulous. Even if you don't get the stamps, the dies work really well on their own. So that is Stitched Leaves dies and Love of Leaves stamps, and they are both in the annual catalogue. Yes, I'm sure they're in the annual catalogue rather than the seasonal one. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is to put some spatters on here. So I'm going to bring back my water painter. I've got my soft suede ink pad, which I will turn upside down and then squeeze, and that will push the ink pad onto the inside of the lid. This is an old style ink pad. If you've got this style of ink pad, they are a bit stiffer. The boxes haven't got quite so much flex in them. Instead, you can just drop a drop of re-inker onto the lid here and use that instead if you can't squeeze your boxes. I can with these, but I always have to turn them upside down. For some reason, I can't squeeze them that way. So I'm now going to just squeeze my water painter and just drop a drop of water in there, maybe another drop. What I'm looking for is some really wet ink. And then removing everything from around you that you might spatter. Ask me how I know. There's lots of ways to do this. You can just tap it like that. You can tap it with, oh, I've got here my bone folder. That works pretty well. So I'm just looking to get some irregular spatter marks on here. The more ink you have on the brush and the wetter it is, the bigger your spatters will be. Right, let me just clean that out a little bit. And I did say move anything that matters before you do this. I have got spattered ink. Where have I got it? Out, ooh, well beyond my grid paper, several inches beyond my grid paper on all sides. So do just watch what you're doing a little bit. It's a water-based ink. It should come off pretty well, but just in case. That will dry fairly fast, so I'm going to carry on working, and I might smudge the odd spatter, but I don't think it'll be a disaster. Then it's just a case of arranging the leaves how you like them. So I'm going for a sort of a bunched leaf effect. I'm going to be using a different sentiment. So this is going to be smaller on there. So I'll just have to think about how that's going to look a little bit. Might put this one out that way. So something like that. I can't do it because I'm filming with my phone, but normally if I'm crafting like this, I'll take a photograph of that and then I can move all the bits and it doesn't matter. And I can remember how to put them back, but I will just slide them and let's see if I can remember. So the next thing I'm going to do is just glue everything down. I think that was the next one. Is anybody crafting along with me? So I'm sort of crossing the stems here. You could put these up on dimensionals. I'm not. They are actually quite dimensional because the watercolour paper is nice and thick. I didn't put this shaped leaf on the other one, actually, because I messed it up and I didn't have time to cut another one. Secrets of a professional crafter, there you go. But it's fine, but I will put it on this one. Okay, so I'm just going to put those to one side and I'm going to put this large stamp block on top just to help those stick down where the paper is so thick. And meanwhile, I'm going to stamp on here. So I have the thank you stamp from the same leaf stamp set, and I'm going to come back to my soft suede ink. Let's see if I can get that somewhere in the middle. There we go, not too shabby. Very difficult to look over the top. Really, to get something in the middle, you need to be right over the top of it. And of course, if I do that, you will see the top of my head. So I try not to do it unless I absolutely have to. All right, so I'm just going to do my usual trick with the grid paper. I'm using the center cross here, which I can use to mark the center of something. So this is 1/2 inch wide, and it's watercolor paper again. I don't think I said that. It's just a little scrap I had. I've just cut to 1/2 inch and plenty big enough for my sentiment. And actually, before I cut the banner ends, I think I'm just going to trim a little bit off it. There we go. So now I can use this center mark here. So I'm just going to put this so I've got one square to the right of that center line and one square to the left, and then that shows me where the middle of my banner end is. And I could put a pencil mark, but I usually just poke it with my scissors, which makes a little mark, and then a little snip into the center on that middle mark, and then I snip from each point in to where I snipped in the center, and that gives me perfectly even banner ends every time. There we go. Belinda says that crafting long has been temporarily halted in her house. Small dog asleep in lap. There are worse things, Belinda, aren't there? So I think I'm going to do that, something like that. Now I want some dimensionals for my banner, I think. At least I do under that corner. And actually I could reach for my little ones, I think. So a lot of that banner is being supported on top of the leaves, which actually are quite high off the surface of my card layer. So I think actually I'm not going to put dimensionals on the back. I'm just putting one on that corner of the banner here, where it's going to go straight on the layer, and the rest of the banner is going to be raised up by all those cut out leaves. So the whole thing will now end up pretty much level like that. And actually I'd forgotten I was going to put some linen thread on there, wasn't I? Let's pull some of this out. So what I usually do when I want to just kind of loop some round randomly is I put 2 or 3 glue dots down where I'm going to stick the thread. It's a little bit fiddly because they want to stick to everything they touch, except where you want them when you do it like this. There we are. And then I think about, do I want my ends showing? I think I probably do. And then I just kind of, I encourage this to go where it wants. There is a bit of a curve in it where it's been on the reel, which I haven't tried to straighten out. And then I'm just going to make a few loops. And I'm just pushing it onto the glue dots. I'm hoping that will show you. Don't know if it is. Ooh, it's not in focus. Is it going to focus? Maybe if I move it, will it focus? I'm having problems with this, Belinda. Did I move it too fast? Anybody else who is expert out there? I didn't used to have this with the old setup, and I'm not quite sure what the difference is. I'm using exactly the same camera on my phone. I haven't changed any settings like autofocus or anything, but it doesn't really want to focus like it did. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to stick that one across like that. And then I'm going to put my last leaf just coming down from the banner, not sure which direction, like that I think. So I am going to pop a couple of dimensionals on it. Belinda says, maybe I was a bit too close. Try again. If it looks out of focus, move it back out again slowly. Thank you. Belinda knows a lot more about photography than I do. And although I don't know how much videoing you've done, Belinda, I do know that you take amazing photographs, you teach it, and more. All right, so I'll bring this up. Maybe I brought it too close. Let's bring it up slowly. Not quite as close as I had. And let's pull it forwards a bit. You're very good, aren't you, all of you, bearing with me as I do this. Not too bad, not too bad. You can see what I've done anyway, that's the main thing. So I'm going to bring in some layers now. I'm going to put this onto a soft suede layer, and I don't think I said this layer is crumb cake. And I'm actually wondering whether to go a little bit wild and just kind of, I might just for a change stagger these a little bit, these layers, instead of doing it all neatly, which is my kind of my normal go-to. I love soft suede. It's one of my favourite browns to use. It looks beautiful with pale pink and pale blue, and it's also a nice sort of warm brown to use for autumn cards. So that's the front of my card, and for the inside I've got some white card to use as an insert. I'm just going to stamp a leaf on that. Let's go with the horse chestnut. And I've got crushed curry ink. It's another tip there from Belinda, thank you. I'm going to read that properly in a sec. Actually, I'm just going to tuck my mat under here because I want to stamp off the edge of the paper. So Belinda is telling me that where I had it was good. She suspects because the leaves are dimensional, the camera is trying to focus on the top one or wherever the centre of the lens is pointing. Thank you. I have so much to learn. Every day's a school day, as they say. Okay, so there is my card. So variations on a theme. I'll leave you to look at those. I'll clean the stamps that I used and clear the decks a little bit, and then bring something else in. So once again, I've made the same card twice, but I haven't really. So I do a lot of that. I talk about that quite often, but yes, I quite like not creating an identical card twice. In fact, if I try and create the same card exactly the same twice, I don't usually manage it anyway, so I don't very often try. All right, let me move this lot. Just have to lean away. I'll try not to trail wires, but I might. Okay, let's put that wire out of the way. And so show you something completely different. Well, it's not completely different, it's different. So this time we've got stamped leaves, although there is a little hint of die cut metallic there. So once again, let me pull up everything I've used to show you. If we were in the theatre, they'd call this noises off, wouldn't they? Okay, so let's try and bring this up to show you a little bit closer. So I've stamped a garland of leaves at the top. I've added a metallic die cut here, some of the matte dots, and a bow. Alright, so the stamps that I've used for that are a bit of an old favourite, Forever Fern, which I've dusted off. I hardly had those off my craft desk last year, and this year I've neglected them a little bit. And then for the die cut leaves, I used the coordinating dies, which are called Forever Flourishing dies. And for that card I used this die here, and for the next one I'm going to show you I used this die. I don't know if it's easier to see one way up or the other, but these dies are lovely. They cut out the stamps in the set, but there are some additional dies which are the ones I've used. This one and these here and that one, which just cut out separate shapes for you to use. Let's put those out of the way. And my happy birthday, let's just bring that back, is from Artistically Inked. This one here, it's a really good size. It's nice for a card front, but it's not so big you can't use it inside. For the card I'm going to make a thank you card, so I'm going to use that thanks as well. The words in this are brilliant because you've got best wishes as well, which I'm always getting asked for. People say, well, which set has got best wishes in it? And there's a hello as well. So on this card I used, what's it called? I can never remember. The gold and rose gold metallic specialty paper, which is hidden away in the catalogue, but is very lovely. So I used the rose gold on here, and it definitely does have a pinkish tinge to it, but I decided that it wasn't far off copper, and I think it works fine. And then that's the gold one, and it has a sort of a grain on it, so it's textured as well, so that's really nice. But on the next card I'll show you my die cuts. So I cut these from, again, I'm looking it up to see what it's called, the brushed metallic cardstock. So this is in the mini catalogue, and this is, well, as it suggests, it's brushed. It's slightly shiny, but it's not shiny like foil card is. And there are 3 colours in the pack. There's this one, which is a sort of a brownish bronzy colour, and there is this gold and this gold. So there's a pale gold and a much more yellow gold. I think this is called brass when you look in the catalogue. I think it's probably bronze, brass and gold, but I haven't got it in front of me, so don't quote me on that. But it is the brushed metallic cardstock anyway. So I cut 2 from that die I showed you, and I've actually trimmed them. So they're both cut from the same die. On this one I trimmed a little bit off here, and on this one I trimmed a little bit off here, just to give me 2 that are slightly different to each other. So let's do some stamping. So my idea is to have a garland of flowers coming down from the top of the card. So I have this image, which I'm going to stamp in Bumblebee. I have these leaves. They're the same shape, but they're a pair. So one curves that way and one curves that way. I'm going to stamp those in Cinnamon Cider. And then I'm finally going to stamp these. Sometimes they look like eucalyptus leaves, sometimes they look like berries, I think, depending on what you do with them. But I'm going to stamp those in Poppy Parade. So I'm going to start off with Bumblebee ink. Oops. Let me just try and clip that cable out of the way. So I'm going to have them coming down from roughly the centre of the top. I could actually use my grid paper for that, couldn't I? Then I know exactly where the centre is. And this does have a curve to it, but I'm just going to tilt it round so that they are kind of going in different directions. And then I'm going to stamp again up here, going off the edges, just to fill out the shape a bit. And the same here. There we are. So I'm starting with my lightest colour, then I'm going to come in with Cinnamon Cider and stamp over the top. So the yellow will show through a little bit, but the brown is a little bit darker, so I think that will be fine. And I'm going to remember to leave some spaces for the berries, so I'm not going to go too wild with this. I can always come back and add some more if I need to once the berries are on there. Maybe like that. Can you see that? Yes, I think you can see that okay without me lifting it. And then finally, Poppy Parade. Except at Christmas, I'm not a lover of red, so I don't use these reds very much, as I say, except at Christmas when I use, I'm either doing blues and silvers or reds and greens. But it's a lovely vibrant red for something like this, which I do want to stand out. And it goes brighter as it dries. I'm dithering now, I don't know where to put them. Just do a little hint here, I think. There we are. Just going to drink some water. I've actually got the window open a little bit in here, but the sun's suddenly come out and it's suddenly warmed up. I've just because my comments keep disappearing. I've just seen your comment about the previous card, Belinda. So thank you very much. Yeah, I love this watercolor effect. All right, so back to this. So I'm now going to add this little spatter stamp. I've gone back to cinnamon cider ink. I don't want it to be too dominant, so I'm actually going to stamp off twice, and then it's just going to be really, really pale. So I'm really just looking to add a little bit of texture in the background. So I re-ink it, stamp off twice just on my scrap paper, and then add some little spatters. And it's a really good shape, this. You can kind of turn it round if you're trying to work round shapes that you've already stamped, like I am with my leaves here. There, that's probably enough. It's easy to go mad with that spatter stamp, and I'm going to try not to. All right, so now I just want some words at the bottom. I'm going to do those in cinnamon cider as well. So I am going to centre my card just to try and get my word in the middle. There we go. And now I'm going to make up my layers, and then I'll put my die cuts and my little jewels and all the rest of it on afterwards. So this time I am going to go with everything straight on the card. This time I've chosen a bumblebee card base, and my layer is cinnamon cider. I haven't given you any measurements. I'm just using my kind of standard card measurements. So my card base is 8 inches by 4 inches, and it's scored at 4 inches. So 8, no, that's rubbish. Ignore me. 8 by 5 3/4 inches, scored at 4 inches. That's what I meant. This layer is just 1/4 inch smaller all the way round, so it's 5.5 inches by 3 3/4 inches. And then the card I've stamped on, which for this card is very vanilla in colour, is 1/4 inch smaller round again, so that is 5 1/4 by 3 1/2. Oh, Belinda says her comments on her thing are keep vanishing too. She thinks it's a Facebook thing. It's bad to be a Facebook thing, Belinda, isn't it? Honestly, it's causing so much hassle at the moment. I just don't know why they can't all go and take a holiday and leave it alone for a while. Okay, so I've got my little die cuts here. I might well end up taking some of that stem off. I'm going to make my bow and put that on, and then I might even trim these a bit more. I'll wait and see. So on, where's my first card? On this one I did one of those double bows, which I think I am going to do again because I'm just really enjoying those at the moment. So if you haven't seen me do these before, I'm going to hold the end of the ribbon. I've left a couple of inches or so hanging, and I'm going to hold it between my thumb and middle finger. This is on my non-dominant hand, and then I'm going to spread my middle finger and my index finger apart, and this distance here is going to be the width of the bow across from one loop to the other loop, so about that big. And then my ribbon's going to go up over there, in between my fingers and around the bottom finger. So I've got a loop of ribbon on each finger, and then I'm just going to repeat that again. So between the fingers and over, between the fingers and under. And then actually I'm working off my reel of ribbon. I am going to just have to cut that now. So I just want a bit. There we are, that'll be more than enough actually. So now this is going to go around and through. So I've got 2 loops of ribbon on each finger. That one is about to pop off. There we go. So there's my end of ribbon, and it's gone across and through between my fingers on the left, back round to the front, and then I'm just going to thread it up through the middle there. There we are. And that makes the tie on the middle of the bow, so that needs to come nice and tight, and then I can pull everything off. And I've managed to lose a loop in the process, so let's do that again. Over the top one, under the bottom one, over the top one, under the bottom one, cross and through. Did you spot that coming off my finger? Were you shouting and saying, "You've lost a loop"? There we go, that's better. Now I've got 4 loops, not 3. And then you can just kind of pull them into position. There we go. I do really like that. I think it's a very pretty bow. And I love this ribbon. I've used it on so many things. I think I've just ordered my 4th reel of it. There, so that's going to go up there. No, actually I do like both of those. So I'm just going to trim off some of the stems because they're just a bit long. And then I'm going to anchor those towards the top. I've got lots of messy stems here, either stamped or die cut, but the bow is going to hide a multitude of sins, so I'm not concerning myself with that. There we go. I'm just going to turn that over so it's easier to press it all down. As always, I'm going to hold the bow on with a couple of mini glue dots because liquid glue tends to soak through the ribbon, but these will not. There we go. And now all I need are some of those really nice metallic dots, brushed metallics. There we go. That's what they're called, brushed metallic adhesive backed dots, which is a bit of a mouthful. And I'm going to go with copper ones again. There we are. I pretty much always use an odd number of embellishments, so I'll put on 3 or 5 rather than 2 or 4, because it just balances better that way. I don't know why it looks better to the eye, but it does. So there we are. 2 cards, once again the same but different. So similar idea, the same stamps, different die cuts. And of course the stampings ended up completely different, even though I've used the same stamps. Okay. have one more card for you, this time with trees. I'll quickly clean my stamps off and then I can clear everything away and bring in the things for the last project. Okay, so I hope you can see that. It's kind of white on my white paper, but hopefully it shows. I'll lift it up in just a moment and stand it so you can see, because this is a shaped card. So it stands up like that. And the front is cut away. So you can write along there, or you can write on the back. So I've used the Peaceful Cabin bundle for this. You will be seeing a lot more of this over the coming weeks as we start to do Christmassy projects. So this is the stamp set. So we have the trees and the cabin, the fence, and the little fox. The words I use, I actually didn't pick words from this time. Those are from the one with the robin, the holly something something it's called. That set. But you can obviously use whatever words you like on it. And let me bring in my stamps. I'll put those on the block already. And the dies are the coordinating dies, which are called the cabin dies. So these have images that cut out the stamped images, sorry, dies that cut out the stamped images, and other ones as well. So the one that I used is this one here, which cuts out, as you can see, the shape of the trees and then a little bit of kind of snowdrift there. I'm actually going to make a winter birthday card this time around rather than another Christmas card, just to show you that they don't have to be only used for Christmas cards. So this is my card blank, which measures 11.5 by 4 inches, and it's scored at 5 3/4 inches. So that's my score line, which probably doesn't show up. Let me fold it and that might make it easier. So I put it through my die cutting machine flat like this, not folded, otherwise I would cut through both layers of card. But I will fold it just to show you the placement. So I just placed my die on the front like that, and I die cut it before I did any stamping. You can stamp and then die cut if you prefer, but I did it this way because I thought it would be easier to show you. And then once it was cut, it looked like that. But this piece was attached because I had to cut down the score line just until I reached this point here, because this die doesn't cut down here. So I just had this flappy bit here that was cut all around here, but was still attached at the fold. So that's how I created the card base. Let me put that die back so I don't lose it. So the first thing I'm going to do is to stamp the trees on there. I'm just make sure this is nice and flat. So I have the tree images, and you can see that although there are 3 trees, they look like they're 2 different stamps, but they're only one. And all you have to do is stamp on there like that. So that's not too taxing. You don't have to be super accurate. There's going to be a white space around those trees anyway. And that is Mossy Meadow ink, if you were wondering. And I'm sorry, I probably am showing you the top of my head here. There we are. So that then has stamped just on top of the die cut trees. And if I lose the background, you can hopefully see that. There we are. So then it's just a case of building up the scene. So you can use any of the stamps in the stamp set. I have the fence, I have the cabin, I have the fox because I just think he has to go on everything. I really like the fox. On this one I did use as well, I used this one for smoke coming out the chimney and for some shadows, but I wasn't sure about them. I'm not going to do them on this one. I'm just going to leave this slightly plainer. What I am going to do is just use a pencil and just trace where that die cut goes there, just to help me with my cabin, because I want the windows to be showing. Maybe even a little bit down here where that tree is, and the chimney. And it's just easier to place it. So I've just got some very basic guidelines there. So this bit here in the middle is going to be covered over by the front of the card. So I want to avoid getting the bits I want to show in that section. So this ink is Crumb Cake. I tried various colours and Crumb Cake seemed to me to work the best. So now I'm just looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, avoid that bit there with the chimney or the window. And I'm just going to stamp slightly below that line as well. It doesn't really matter, it's going to look nice wherever that ends up. But there we are. So that's recognisably a cabin even when the card is shut. I will rub out my pencil guidelines, but I am going to give them a minute just to be absolutely sure that that ink has dried nicely. So now I've got the fence. Just make sure you use this up the right way. There are little sort of circles which are the top of the fences and little lines at the bottom of the fence post. It doesn't necessarily look wrong immediately up that way. It just looks like it's coming outwards towards you, but it will look wrong. So I'm just going to put a little bit of a fence in here and a little bit out here, just to kind of finish that going across there. I'm going to pop my fox in, and this is Cajun Craze, which I think is perfect fox colour, and I like him just coming in between the trees there. No, I want Crumb Cake, that's the one I want to shut up. And I've just dropped my inky stamp on there, did you see that? Never mind. I might stamp some stars or something on there, I'll have to think about that later, but what am I looking for? I'm looking for the fence, there we are. So I'm just going to stamp some fence on the front here. And I'm going to put the word somewhere else. So I'm going to stamp some fence over this side as well. There we go. And I'm not trying anything tricky like lining them up. I could do that. I could use my Stamparatus and line those up nicely, but I'm just going for simple here. And then I'm going to put Happy Birthday on here. I've got Happy Birthday from the Peaceful Moments set, which is nearly worn out. It's not nearly worn out. These stamps don't wear out, but I have used it and used it and used it. Okay, so I've got cherry cobbler for this, which I thought was a nice contrast, and I'm going to pop that up at the top. There we go. It looks quite dark and brown, but it lightens up to more of a red once it's dry. You can see here. And then on the back, I'm just going to pop a tree to one side. And maybe a fox. There we go. So how quick was that? I know I did that die cutting, but that only takes a moment, doesn't it? There is my finished card. Something else actually I could do is I could cut a curve around there. That might get rid of that ink. I will play with that anyway and come up with that. But you know, it's a handmade card. Sometimes you drop a stamp and you get ink where you haven't planned. Okay, so there are those two. Just going to clean these inky stamps so I don't drop them anywhere else, and then it's the end. It's time to say goodbye to you all. Okay, so I'm going to cover you over again very carefully this time. There we go. And just fiddle around with my camera again. Take that off. Hopefully that will be it. If it's all black, I know I've hit that button again. There we go. Okay, so that is the end of today's broadcast. Thank you ever so much for joining me. It's always lovely to be crafting with friends. And I'm sorry I won't be here live with you next week, but do come back and watch the video that I will make and upload for you for 2 o'clock on Friday. All being well, assuming that nothing strange happens with Facebook, it will be there for you. And then I will certainly be here the following week, live and in person. So I'll say bye-bye to you all. Have a lovely weekend, despite the weather. Stay dry, stay warm, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.